not endorsing the Gaza Riviera.
I am not even taking it seriously.
This is an India Today exclusive. I'm being joined by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Slovenia, Tanja Fajon. Thank you so much for joining us. You're the first one to have hold meetings with External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar. What has the meeting been like? We're seeing a lot of European leaders come. So there are a lot of things that we'd like to discuss, but beginning with your bilateral conversations.
Yeah, we certainly discussed about global challenges that we both face. My main message was that as a non-permanent member in the Security Council, we see a lot of paralysis, and for a country such as Slovenia, it's extremely important to have a strong multilateralism, the respect of international law and the UN Charter. So I said we are building strong partnerships and allies because we want to be a credible partner, but we want to be also a principled one. So to really address all the crises around the world with the same principles and standards. We discussed and touched also bilateral issues because India and Slovenia really developed good, friendly relations. There is a growing interest for business, science, innovation, green hydro. So we discussed what are the options, where to boost our cooperation, and I also supported strongly the current negotiations for the trade agreement between the European Union and India.
Right. Also, importantly, apart from trade, manpower is a very important aspect when it comes to India and India's cooperation with various European countries. Is that talent pool something that Slovenia would like to dip into?
We are certainly looking into it. We discussed about it, Minister, because we do lack in Slovenia a workforce. We actually have currently more than 15% of foreigners as a workforce in Slovenia. So there is a question that has to be addressed, and we are open to it. I can only say that we have so far very positive stories. One that I want to point out is that our space agency is working together with the Indian counterpart with the use of satellites and technology, how to observe climate change and effects on agriculture and the living conditions. And this is a very good partnership, also on the sector of pharmaceuticals, environment. So I do hope that we will really strengthen our relations on both sides, not only with investments, so it's political, it's economic, but also people-to-people contact.
Okay, talking about Slovenia now, the fact that you're part of the United Nations Security Council, a very important role, but one that can also feel very suffocating at times. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar has mentioned the paralysis that you see in the United Nations at a time when there's a war that Europe faces. How vulnerable do you think Europe is today?
You are right. Paralysis is and also part of frustration. Sitting at a table with big powers in the Security Council, seeing that basically you cannot really end any conflict. Russian aggression in Ukraine for the third year is really causing not only political, economic consequences, and Europe today is weakened. This is the fact. We are trying to rebuild resilience, our recovery of economy, and also our credibility in the world, so to build strong partners around the world. So the whole geopolitics today, in a way, shifted to Indo-Pacific. So we need to strengthen Europe, we need to really make strong economies and to be a credible partner. It was very significant that the whole College of European Commission, almost all the commissioners were recently in India at the first ever visit outside of European Union. It really shows that Europe is very much interested in engaged to work closer with India, and India is also for Slovenia a second biggest Asian trade market. So we want to work closer together.
Okay. Do you think India and Prime Minister Modi can and has a role to play in the conflicts, the Russia-Ukraine war, so to say, where he's met with President Zelensky and President Putin?
Look, I told to Indian minister today that for us it's extremely important. We do understand Ukrainians' fight for their sovereignty, territorial integrity, and do we want to see peace? Yes, we want to see peace, but we want to see lasting and just peace based on principles. So if there are peace negotiations, and India certainly we need a broader support and understanding, it has to be based upon UN Charter.
And with President Trump in power, or do you see a shift, because there has been a major geopolitical shift in the Russia-Ukraine war? In such a scenario, for Slovenia, because for everyone else, it is a matter of survival, it is a matter of how the future of Europe is going to look. How do you see President Trump's viewpoint on Russia-Ukraine war and his pulling out support when it comes to Zelensky and the Oval Office meeting that the two leaders had?
Let me first say that in Slovenia we do support truce. So we do support ceasefire that was also accepted as an initiative for President Zelensky. When it comes to peace negotiations, we really wish to see Ukrainians first at the table and any peace agreement that is acceptable to Ukrainians. Now, on the meetings and the efforts on sides of US, the efforts on sides of Ukrainians, even Europeans, and then talks to Putin, still has a lot of uncertainties. Under which conditions? And I can just repeat, we want to see lasting and just peace for Ukraine, and we need also strong security guarantees for Ukraine. How we will make sure that there will be no repetition, that we will have safe and strong Ukraine and Europe. We are also supporting Ukrainian membership in European Union, and we will be a strong partner in the reconstruction.
Do you think that'll happen? EU membership for Ukraine? Because NATO membership is not likely.
It's about political willingness and commitments on both sides. It's about the accession process. Ukrainians are really trying hard to meet the criteria, and if they go along that way, and if there is a really readiness on both sides and meet the criteria, then I don't see the reason why. Slovenia supported the membership of Ukraine and all three countries of Eastern Partnership once they are ready, but we always also remind ourselves that we have also Western Balkan, that is our direct neighborhood, and that we also are strongly supporting the enlargement of the Western Balkans. So in my eyes, I think it's a geostrategic necessity that Europe gets stronger, united, enlarged, as soon as possible, later by 2030.
Okay, by 2030. Before I let you go, another very important aspect in terms of conflicts that we're seeing across the world is the Israel-Palestine conflict. Too many lives have been lost. In such a scenario, at the UNSC, what's the role that you'd like to play, that Slovenia would like to play? Because every now and again, we're looking at resolutions that come to at least have some sort of stop to the conflict so that there are no loss of civilian lives.
Slovenia was very vocal. This was the first topic on the agenda last year in the Security Council, and we were co-author of many resolutions, even the first one that was calling for a ceasefire, but unfortunately not implemented. So our stand is very clear. What we see today in Gaza, with the war in Gaza, with so many innocent lives, children, women being lost, with a famine as a weapon of the war, starvation of people, we see clearly violations of international law. And we are calling for a ceasefire that is a permanent ceasefire. We are calling for additional humanitarian assistance, to continue release of hostages, prisoners, and also implementation of two-state solution. You know that Slovenia was last year recognizing the independent and sovereign state of Palestine, because we strongly believe that Palestinians deserve their own state. And we are supportive to reforms of the Palestinian Authority and we are worried about the illegal settlements in West Bank, the rise of violence in the West Bank. So I do hope that the second phase of ceasefire will be negotiated, because we need peace in the region. And even when we recognized Palestine, our message was very clear. We want to see safety for Israelis and safety for Palestinians living inside.
So you're not endorsing the Gaza Riviera?
I'm not even taking it serious.
On that note, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today. It was indeed a pleasure.